So Reade, by the way, she joined several other women who've been accusing Biden of inappropriate touching now as a senator since 1993. Okay, so there have been several women who've come forward, and obviously we have videographic evidence of him sniffing small children, which I guess is circumstantial. Then on a podcast, March 25th, she added details about him penetrating her with. Now I'm using.
Don't say the word.
With his hands, and then she filed a police report. So she actually filed a police report in April. Then in April, 3 more people come forward to corroborate the story. They said that she told them about the assault back when it happened. Her brother, Colin, her former neighbor, Linda Lacasse, a Biden supporter, by the way, and a former co-worker, Lorraine Sanchez. Something else, April 24th, this happened in 2020. I just have to specify the year because we're jumping back and forth like it's an Aronofsky film. Or Nolan. Take your pick. The ones who like gimmicks. Aronofsky, you've made nothing good. Okay? Your career was saved by Mickey Rourke's performance in The Wrestler. It wasn't a good film, and Marissa Tomei took her top off. Do you have any idea how hard that is to do?
Movie idea. Time.
And moving back and forth through it.
Oh, it's precious. So this is where there was footage from Larry King Live, which had Tara Reade's mother calling in, which was corroborated. It was what's funny is it's one of those things where you can't really say it's confirmed, but when you watch the media, no one argues with it.
Yeah,
they just go like, "Well, they said this," and
moving on.
It's her mom. It's clearly her mom. We know that it's her mother. And this was Tara Reade's mother asking, of course, Larry King for advice about her daughter's experience with inappropriate behavior in Washington, dating back to '93. What matters about that? Google Play removed that from the Larry King catalog. We talked about this, right?
So crazy.
They removed one episode, I think, on August 11th, and for some reason, they renumbered the rest of the episode. So there was a meeting, and there were a series of decisions. Finally, now we have a total of 8 women who've accused Joe Biden of sexual misconduct, inappropriate touching, and what really matters, of course, is, listen, like I said, we should hold him to the same standard that we held Kavanaugh. This is way more evidence than we ever had with Kavanaugh because the stories all corroborate each other. It's all consistent. With Christine Ford, she started naming people who weren't there in places that didn't even exist, kind of like Joe Biden. And if we're going to hold Joe Biden, however, to his own standard, in 2018, he said, believe all women. So if we hold him, but this is what's remarkable to me. If we're going to hold him to his standard, first off, it was stupid to say that. You shouldn't believe anything.
No,
you shouldn't believe all women, all men, all children, all Asians, all whites. You shouldn't just say, blanket statement, believe all, insert whatever it is here, because inevitably some of them are going to be lying asshats. There's no way around it. But this is the difference between being principled and trying to pander for votes. So if we hold him to his own standard, he has to necessarily address these claims right now and provide some evidence, which, listen, he doesn't need to provide evidence if it's a court of law because I think we're past the statute of limitations. He's innocent. But when he was calling for these investigations into other people...
It doesn't mean he's innocent. It just means
it just means
he's not guilty.
Sorry.
Exactly.
And what's really what I find to be just completely unabashedly ironic is when Joe Biden's spokesperson was asked about this, they said, we do think everyone should have the right to say what they want to say. Women should have the right to be able to speak out about accusations. The reporters and media should vigorously investigate. And FYI, she's a liar.
Right.
And that was it was one sentence.
Right.
And I thought to myself, wow, you guys really did box yourselves in here by throwing out any semblance of justice or evidence or really doing an investigation or anything like that. And so what's most interesting as well is the Bernie bros and Bernie ladies.
They think they're going to trot out Bernie at convention.
They do. No.
I think if Bernie is trotted out at convention, it's just going to be the curtain pulled, and you're just going to see his shoes hanging from a noose like Brooks and Shawshank. There's no way they're naming him.
Fade to black.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Who they're going to get in place. But look, how long have you been saying it, questioning Joe's, whether he's all there?
I think it's sad. I don't harbor any ill will toward him. I think it's really sad. He's like a fighter who's past his prime, and you have coaches like, "You're great, kid. No one can touch you." It's like, no, listen, you really should you should throw in the towel. And if it were my dad, if it were one of our relatives, I'd be like, come on, you shouldn't be doing this anymore. It's dangerous.
You never should have been doing it in the first place. You knew you were going to have some kind of problem like this when you went into it. But so at the time that the Kavanaugh situation came to light, everybody was out there, like Alyssa Milano, everybody else is tweeting, we can't have this kind of person, a rapist.
Right.
They're using very strong language in office or deciding, any kind of.
And do you know how we know he's a
legally.
rapist? Sometimes he drinks beer on
He does drink beer, right?
Tuesdays.
So now we have somebody running for the presidency. They think that this is the most important election in the history of the United States because we're run by a tyrannical orange man, right?
Yeah.
And they're not saying anything at all about this. I thought it was important to not have a rapist in office. I thought that was the line that you set in the sand. It wasn't just about believe everybody.
Right.
It was about we don't want this guy there because he's horrible and he's a rapist.
Think about this for a second, though, the line of questioning, right? Right now, there are all these corroborating witnesses. People, by the way, many of whom are saying, well, you know what, I still will probably vote for Joe Biden because I hate Donald Trump. And no one has investigated. There hasn't been a line of questioning. Whereas with Brett Kavanaugh, the authorities came out and said, you know what, she described a place that we couldn't find. It doesn't really exist. And the therapist said, actually, this isn't the same as what went out in the Washington Post. And it wasn't the same story as she gave on the stand. And then there were some people who said, I don't know what she's talking about. I wasn't even there. And so the line of questioning got all the way down to the point, I think it was Cory Booker asking Brett Kavanaugh, do you ever like to have a Schlitz on weekdays? Do you ever find yourself visiting the Applebee's happy hour, perhaps? Any earlier than Thursday? I rest my case. Joe Biden sniffed a child.
Yeah.
You don't even need a video. You can just search the GIF.
Yeah.
This is
not
not
even
surprising
once.
anybody.
And I hate being that guy who just says double standard or the yap, but in this case, it really does matter because they actively tried to destroy somebody's life.
Well, they
with
did.
Brett Kavanaugh. They accused him of being a gang rapist for crying out loud. Gang rapist.
It's worse than, I guess, just being a rapist. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're.
Yes, it's worse than being a rapist.
Well, I don't know. It's
Why is that even in question?
I think it's bad
He
enough.
seems conflicted.
I don't know how much further down the list you can go. I don't know if there's a new bottom that we can
Okay, find the bottom, then go below that, find another barrel, and there's gang rapists. Gerald.
Well, look, what I'm saying too is that with
Gerald is not going to survive prison.
why am I going to
down
jail?
day one.
I haven't done anything wrong.
You've done a lot of things
Let's
wrong.
go. Let's go back to like 30 minutes ago.
When I was accused of being a racist and I was not.
Wow, this got really uncomfortable.
Yes.
He's still chewing
That's
on
exactly
that.
what you meant by there.
So I do like the point you're making though, Gerald, because when you look at Joe Biden and you think about, okay, sure, Brett Kavanaugh was going through an appointment process. They needed to do an investigation. He had a certain role. They were going to do what they're going to do. But the way that was approached was he is already guilty. It doesn't matter. Any evidence that is against it, we should throw out and take only the evidence that as speculative and as weak and thin as it may be, and we're going to use that to be the end of it, including you drink beer on Tuesdays.
Right.
And then when you look here at Biden, we talked about this before, the little amount of coverage in mainstream media, and especially those that are kind of very forward-looking on the progressive side, is terrible. I will say, so I think I've mentioned this before, I read a lot of both conservative and non-conservative sites, and Slate actually had a really good, Slate.com had a really good article that was just damning.
I thought you were going to say it was about how to inject ketamine. But yes.
Well,
it was next to that article.
That was down in the culture side.
right.
Yeah, but they just straight up, they were one of the first ones to run the information about the neighbor corroborating and giving all of that when CNN wasn't covering it, when the New York Times wasn't covering it, when the Washington Post, not Washington Times, Washington Post was not covering it as well. And now these other mainstream media are saying, hey, we better start addressing this because we're going to lose credibility.
Oh.
Right. You know what would be the greatest twist of events is convention rolls around and they trot out John Kasich. Everyone's like, this guy. They make a decision that guarantees everyone is unhappy.
Oh, my God.
John Kasich.
I think they've already done that with Joe Biden.
I would love to have John Kasich trot it out.